Welcome to the Joanne Avison podcast. In this Christmas 2025 episode, I wanted to look back and share something with you from the work that we've done over the last year. And I found myself reflecting on the changes in the world and the greater interest in fascia that's growing as people learn about it and discover it and go to ChatGPT and AI to find out more about it. And I kind of get a little bit frustrated because having been studying this for the last 30 years and spending an awful lot of time in the laboratory doing cadaveric dissection and working with hundreds, if not thousands of people every year and talking to people, feedback through my podcast and, sessions in manual therapy and working in workshops around the world. All that gives me a huge, I don't want to say database because I didn't reduce it to data. I wanted to take it into the realm of qualitative information rather than just quantitative. And there's a reason why I'm sharing this with you. So let me just do it with a story. It was my birthday. It's my birthday at the end of the year. And my son bought me a Garmin watch. And it was such a sweet and generous birthday present. And suddenly I've got on my wrist something that's giving me feedback about my body. And I found it a really stark contrast between the information that I'm getting from the watch and the subtle sensory awareness that I rely on heavily to read my own body inside and out. And it's been quite a journey. And this last few years have been tremendous change in the world and a huge shift in the understanding of fascia. And I do spend quite a bit of my time in correspondence, fielding questions that have come up from usually some aspect of artificial intelligence about the fascia. And because that also gives us access to illustrating, there's all kinds of illustrated guides to how the fascia works and blah, blah, blah. And there's so much of it that's inaccurate and so much of it that's really exciting. And I think to myself, oh my goodness, how do people manage? How do people discern what's true and what's not? Because one of the things that's happening in the world of anatomy, and it's happening very, very slowly, I mean, it's taking hundreds of years, not 5 minutes, is this evolution of the understanding of the human body from what was traditionally a system of divide and conquer. In other words, get permission to dissect, cut it up into its component parts, analyze the component parts, and then the underlying assumption, as if understanding the parts gives you the ability to create the whole. And I want to hold that up as a little bit of a think about this. You're already whole. Every single one of us is whole and complete at all stages of our development. From conceptus, the moment of conception, onwards. We've been spellbound, at least in the West, for the last 400 years, with this idea that if we can just analyze the detail, we can understand how the whole comes together and do what? Mend it? Recreate it? And it stuns me because we're already whole and complete. From the moment of conception, we're whole and complete at every single stage of our development. And that's kind of fascinated me. It sent me down the embryology rabbit hole. It sent me into the anatomy rabbit hole, biomechanics, so-called. I loathe that word, as anyone who follows me knows. And down the physiology channel and down the spiritual, as we might call it, world of our awareness. And for me, as many of you know, fascia is the interface of our awareness, our ability to translate what's happening around us to an internal perception and what's happening within us expressed as an external perception. Because for me, fascia is the interface of the spirit that animates us and distinguishes us as alive. It's very different to working with a body that's the spirit's left. And that gives us an awareness that is not just intellectual. It is not just kind of data-based. It is not just quantitative. It is also intuitive, based on a quality, on a subtlety, on a feeling of an awareness, which comes together, if you think of those in a Mobius loop, history, mystery, where it overlaps, we get magic. And that magic is the instinctive awareness, moment to moment to moment to moment to moment, in this ever-present now. If we remember, we already are whole and complete. So how did this all kind of get scrambled? And I think partly it's a cultural spell, literally, of coming from this fundamental approach to the world, to the body, that is now becoming out of date, thank goodness, of divide and conquer. So we talk about the human embryo as going through various stages of cell division. Well, just think about this for a moment. From the one unicellular being at the moment of conception, immediately that becomes 2, then 4, then 8, then 16, then 32, then 64, and it's expanding and multiplying. In my world, 64 is a multiplication up from 1, not a division down to more than. I mean, excuse me? Just saying. And here's the thing about round things. Cells begin as round things, and we're made of cells, tissues, and the in-between. And the cells are wrapped in tissue. And in between the cells is the in-between. Inside the original cell, the unicellular being, there's inside the placenta that's going to be, that's inside the mother. And every single egg that your mother's ever going to produce in her whole life, or ever did produce in her whole life, is present in her embryonic form in your grandmother, whoever you are. I mean, hello. So what makes us all exactly the same, however, miraculously, amazingly, magically in my world, is that every single one of us is unique, which makes us all the same. And we already are whole and complete and conscious because we're alive. Now, there's some fabulous new research going around the world about consciousness in the body. And I'm very, very fortunate because I'm going to be part of some of it. It's very exciting. I'll tell you about that in the new year. But in the meantime, it's got me really diving deep into everything that I've studied over the last however many, I don't know, lifetimes I want to say, but years, let's say in this context, of consciousness. And I actually am of the opinion that we're alive in the consciousness of aliveness. And it's a question of how much we wake up to. And there's some theories flying around that consciousness is in the microtubules in the cells. Where isn't it? Tell me where consciousness isn't in the living body. And I'll have a discussion with you about one more part from this divide and conquer thinking. See, one of the things we know in Tensegrity, Donald Ingber, check it out, I'll do a podcast on it, is that the microtubules and the microfilaments inside a cell form the tension compression architecture of the cell's tensegrity. Every cell, every one of the trillions of cells in your body. Tensegrity, tension compression, and their combination. the holy trinity of structure in the human body. It really is. I'll go deep on that in another podcast. I've talked about it for years, but I'll go deep. And that architecture includes the microtubules and the microfilaments, and the way that what's outside the cell pushes in and what's inside the cell pushes out. And that balance is a tremor. It's based on the Tensegrity icosahedron. But that's the force transmission pattern, not the form. So you don't open the body and take out a cell and go, oh, look, there's a Tensegrity icosahedron. It doesn't work like that. It's the process of pushing in and then what is inside pushing out, and that balance, that interface at the outside of the cell. And it's the most beautiful, singing, vibrational field of a round thing multiplied up by trillions of round things in this body. Isn't it amazing? And for me, it all trembles and vibrates and resonates and quivers at various frequencies, depending on where it is in the body and how awake we are to the consciousness that it's all dancing in. And in that, the light and the sound of those frequencies and the light waves that cause them blinking on and off, that we are light and sound. We are an audible light stream. And I was thinking about this from a very kind of technical point of view, and I was beginning to look up research to share with you. And I thought, well, hang on a minute, what's this about awakening? Awakening to what already is. And that's huge to me. And it's huge to me in my consciousness. And this is the difficulty I think we have, is that each one of us has our own consciousness. And we think we need to inform and design everybody else's consciousness. And actually, there's a lot of kind of joy and juice to be had out of working with our own and giving ourselves credit for it and being in a state of wonder about it. And rather than approaching it from how can we divide it down into its component parts, what's the consciousness in the microtubules and what's the consciousness in the microfilaments and what's the consciousness? We're swimming in consciousness. Consciousness is already there. We're swimming in it. And the question is, can we wake ourselves up to it? Can we remember? That's my question. And I was just sitting there thinking, well, how can I bring this into my world? What does this mean to me? And what came up for me? And I want to share this with you because Christmas is a time of reflecting, I think. I know it's lots of things, but for me, it's taking some moments like decorations on a Christmas tree, just taking the odd moment to go to any one of them and explore. And, one of the first things we do with a Christmas tree is we put the lights on it. And because of the way the lights are organized and made, if one of them's out, they won't come on, and you've got to kind of go around each one and tweak them till you find the one that needs to and all the lights come on. You know that thing? And I see it with people when I'm working with them and I hear them and they feel heard. A light goes on. It can be in a shop with someone serving me, or when you stand aside so somebody can move past you and they look at you and they say thank you and they smile. Something completely amazing happens. It's like lights go on. And I wonder if everybody got up in the morning and looked in the mirror. Sure, we all do that, clean our teeth and stick some makeup on if that's what you do, or brush your hair or whatever. If you just look at yourself and smile and greet the breath with that smile, something lights up. Try it. It's just so lovely. And when I was thinking about this podcast, I found myself remembering a poem that my mother and my father used to read to me and my sister when we were little. I know we talk a lot these days about trauma and our childhood, and like everybody, I've got a list. And what's perhaps not so popular is remembering the wonderful moments. And there were a lot of them in my childhood. My parents absolutely adored their children, as I adore mine. And I realised that we do our best. They did their best. And, we got into some pretty serious pickles during our growing up time as a family. And we all managed them the way that we did. And it's all turned out the way it has. And I just found myself wanting to share the poem with you. So I used to live in a house in North London. And this was the place this poem was anchored. And I would look out of my bedroom window and there was a street lamp. It's actually still there. I've been there to see it. And from my bedroom window, it was through the branches of a lilac tree and a cherry blossom tree. And the cherry blossom tree is still there. And it's quite extraordinary how this poem comes to me. So I wanted to share it with you. It's called The Lamplighter by Robert Louis Stevenson. My tea is nearly ready and the sun has left the sky. It's time to take the window to see Leary going by. For every night at tea time and before you take your seat, with lantern and with ladder, he comes posting up the street. Now Tom would be a driver and Maria go to sea, and my papa's a banker and as rich as he can be. But I, when I am stronger and can choose what I'm to do, oh, Leary, I'll go round at night and light the lamps with you. For we are very lucky with a lamp before the door, and Leary stops to light it as he lights so many more. And oh, before you hurry by with ladder and with light, oh, Leary, see a little child and nod to him tonight. I've always loved that poem. And I can remember my mother or my father, they were mummy and daddy to us, reading that and many others to us before we went to bed. They didn't love reading long stories. They loved reading short poems, bless them. But we grew up with them. And I thought to myself, it's not so long ago that we had lights outside that were gas that had to be lit. And now gaslighting has such a different meaning in our society. And we've evolved to the streetlights that we have now. And yet we're still under a spell that we can see the human body as parts, as if we could make it into a whole. It's just, I suppose, teaching us to make robots. But it's not answering how the human body really self-organizes. I think each one of us does that through our own consciousness. And as we become more aware, or as we remember the light and the sound, or the audible light stream that we formed in, that we live in, it shines. And I realize that every smile I give myself, and every smile I take the time to share with someone else, somehow resonates with the lamp before the door of the breath in. If I smile as I breathe, just a little smile just between me and heaven. and a smile for me when I get up in the morning, and a smile for you. Thank you for listening. God bless you. Peace, be still, and with all my love.